We'll start with a sample writing of a one-sided essay. Have a look at this question. Computers are being used more and more in education, and some people believe there will soon be no role for the teacher in education. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Give reasons for your answer using examples from your own knowledge and experience. Whenever the latter part of the question is to what extent do you disagree or agree, think which side your mind is tilting towards, gravitating towards. That is the side that you will be taking in your essay writing. That said, if you have advanced English, I want you to be brave and try to write on the side which you think most of the others would not write. That is, if 80% crowd would think that no teachers are required, try to say that no teachers won't be required and give reasons. It depends on your gut feeling which side most of the students would write, and try to write something different. Let me explain why. It is not that I want you to get low grades. You see, the points are going to be same in almost all the essays, but if you write something different, you would have immediately caught the examiner's attention. Take about 3 to 4 minutes to prepare a mind map, which words you're going to write, which side you're going to write, and think of relevant examples, or just make it up. It doesn't matter. If you agree with the topic, you write why you agree. If you disagree, write on the points why you disagree. In this essay, I'm going to disagree with the statement. I believe that teachers will be there even after 10-20 years down the line. But what is more important is what I'm going to write in the second paragraph, and later what I'll write in the third paragraph. I have to decide beforehand. So in the second paragraph, I'm going to talk of the benefits of having a live teacher in front of me, and in the third paragraph, the drawbacks of online learning. This includes both recorded classes as well as live classes, but it's going to be virtual. The teacher looks at the body language of the child and she understands whether he has understood what she has taught. Facial expressions are a big giveaway. Children can clarify doubts then and there. They get instant feedback, and there is one kind of a fear or reverence for the teacher. They know that if they don't do their homework, they might be punished, they would be humiliated, because of which they are very regular with their homework. And online classes, many a time it is one-way learning. Not in my case, I make it very interactive, but we see that recorded classes, we just listen, or the teacher is just speaking and others have closed their videos, so it's not really very interactive. We saw during lockdown many of them had bouts of depression due to a long screen time. They had fatigue, they had headaches. Please note that this essay question does not clearly specify what kind of students we are talking of or what kind of teacher we are talking of. Teacher can be for school children, it can also mean for adolescents, it could also mean for adult students. But I've decided to stick to school education so that it is easy for me to explain. Alternative words for computers, you can use desktop, laptops, technological equipment, smartphones, gadgets, widgets, and gizmos. Please note that there is no word called equipments. It's always equipment. Whether you talk of 10 gadgets or just one gadget, it's always equipment. Okay, it's a collective noun. And gadgets and widgets are direct synonyms. All the words are not very close in meaning, but alternatively, you can use them throughout your essay instead of repeating computers, computers all the time. Gizmos are a terminology that is used for things which a person doesn't know what it's called. He doesn't know whether it's a hotspot, router, smartphone, hard disk. It all seems the same for him. Synonyms for teacher, preceptor, erudite person. Erudite means knowledgeable, guardian, learned one, mentor, tutor, knowledgeable one, enlightened one, explicator, scholarly guardian, as well as professor. For students, you can use tutees, learners, mentees, disciples, pupils, eager children, as well as inquisitive ones. You may use the term academicians. Academicians are those who run the school, the management side, okay, not the labor class or the working class over there. Alumni is those who have graduated from that college or those who have studied from that school. Instead of saying completely change, you can use words like transformed, revolutionize, and recast. You would be wondering that I directly jump to the second and third paragraph, but I did not exactly mention what you write in the first paragraph. In the first paragraph, your first sentence should always be paraphrased. If the topic sentence has two sentences, you can definitely write two sentences. You can also write one sentence. If it is one sentence, you can still split it into two different sentences, but you should not change the meaning. The main topic sentence should be written in a different way without changing the meaning. Here, what is the topic sentence? It is computers are being used more and more in education, and some people believe there will soon be no role for the teacher in education. So this I have to write it in a different way without changing the meaning. That is paraphrase statement. Thesis statement is which side I am on, which side I've gravitated towards. I'm clearly mentioning my stance in the first paragraph. This makes it easy for the examiners to read your essay from your perspective. She's understanding which side you are on, and she's able to correlate those ideas that you have explained. An outline statement is a gist of what your essay is going to contain, that you're going to write it in the first paragraph itself. Now, don't think that I've used different colors, so you should also use. You should just use one color. I've differentiated it so that you're able to understand what I've written, which is paraphrase, which is thesis, and which is the outline statement. Initially, I've decided to collate the synonyms. For computers, I'm going to use technological devices more and more increasingly, and for believe, opine. So here is my paraphrase statement. Technological devices are increasingly being used by teachers and students alike. A few individuals opine that this would obviate the need for a teacher. You've noted I've made two different sentences, because if I make it one long sentence, it would not seem very right and the whole idea of the subject would be lost. Okay, so I made it paraphrased. I've kept the meaning the same, but I made it to two shorter sentences. Obviate means make it unnecessary. Okay, don't worry about not knowing the meanings of difficult words. I'm going to explain it in the video, and towards the end I've also collated all the difficult words with the meaning, so you can make a note of them towards the end too. Okay, I do not concur with this statement. So this is my thesis statement. That means I do not second this opinion. And this essay elucidates the reasons why a scholarly guardian cannot be superseded. Elucidates means explains, and superseded means cannot be. Supersede is replaced, so cannot be superseded means nobody can take their place. Okay, so I've written the outline statement at the end. And please don't write one sentence at a time, one below the other. That is not a paragraph. I've written it so that I can explain each sentence one by one. You have to write in the form of paragraphs. You can't make a note of the contents on this slide before we go ahead. 2 points to note before we get going. I've mentioned the topic sentence at the top of every slide so that we don't lose track of what the question is. Even on the exam day, you keep your question paper at the side, and after every paragraph, have a look at it so that you know you're writing in sync. Likewise, in computer-based test, the question will be on your left-hand side. You will be typing on the other side, so you'll not have any problem. Also, I've highlighted important words so that you understand how they are being used, and you too can start incorporating them in your essays. Let's get started with the second paragraph. As per one of the Sanskrit sayings, just as a matchstick lights up a dark place, so does the preceptor open your eyes of ignorance. If you cannot think of any suitable proverb or a quote, just define a key word in your own terms. For example, you could say a teacher is someone who explains concepts in a lucid manner. Just don't say a teacher is someone who teaches. That looks very lame. Likewise, you could say computers are electronic devices that make human work easy. Moving on, this quote highlights the significance of a teacher in one's life, be it academic or spiritual. Notwithstanding the exponential growth in the usage of smartphones and computers in schools and homes for educational purposes, a tutor is indispensable. Exponential is a sudden growth in the upward direction. It's not used for a downward movement. Indispensable means somebody or something who or which is important. Because of them, it's very difficult for you to get going or survive. Notwithstanding, it's used in place of despite or in spite of. If you find this terminology too difficult, you can use despite also, despite the exponential growth. But notwithstanding is an advanced word, so you start using it. It would push your score from probably a 6 to 6.5 or even a 7. 2 points to note here. I have used pronouns like he and his. You don't have to always use he or she or his or her all the time. When I say he or his, it doesn't mean I'm being male biased. It just means that he is a standard pronoun that is applicable for women as well. So it is understood I'm talking of the females as well. The second thing is you can use the pronoun one, one. I don't have to always say people, we all the time. When I say one, it implies that each one of us, for instance, one should be responsible for one's own actions. This sentence seems apt, and you don't have to necessarily say people should be responsible for their own actions. It's correct, but in an essay you will find too many people, or they're there all the time, or we. So you can use this pronoun as a good alternative. Now, my reasons. Firstly, a mentor is able to give a mentee concrete feedback, correcting him the moment he makes a mistake. Secondly, an erudite person in flesh and blood may just digress a little bit to give you a background information on some topic. You would have recollect in school, your teachers don't just teach you from your textbooks, they give some background information about that chapter so that you understand the chapter better. This is what I've been trying to explain here. A student grasps the fundamentals better, keeping in mind the bigger picture. The nuances of a concept, language, or program can be best understood when there is a physical teacher present in front of a disciple. It is a no-brainer that a student-teacher bond is special, and most of the academicians and alumni reminisce the time spent together even after many years. Furthermore, a child's body language and facial expressions help an explicator gauge whether his explanations have been well comprehended by the former. You can now take a snapshot of the second paragraph, and then we'll move on to the third paragraph. In the third paragraph, we're going to talk of the drawbacks of online learning. Although visual images and color contrasts expedite learning, over time this methodology is likely to undermine the reading ability of denarians. Expediters hasten, make it faster, underminers make it less effective, and denarians are those in the age group of 10 to 19. What I'm trying to say here is that because children these days are so used to watching videos and images, their reading ability actually reduces because they use these images as crutches. They understand it better, no doubt, but their reading speed reduces. To improve your reading, especially academic reading, you should be used to reading these sentences without any pictures. This is how you can improve your reading speed. So go to Wikipedia. Yes, if you still don't get the topic, then use images, then use videos, but try to read them without any pictures. This helps you have good speed. In the past, when there was no TV or less TV and few pictures, no Google, people had to rely on the text itself to understand, and that is why even today they have better reading speeds. Moving on. Additionally, if a learner fails to assimilate a topic, there is nobody whom he can approach, and even if he is able to do so, it is more often than not ephemeral. Also, the enlightened one is likely to be sitting at the other end of the world. Assimilate is understand, comprehend. Ephemeral is short-lived. Enlightened one is the one who has gotten enlightenment. He has gotten the answers for everything. What I'm trying to say here is, even if you're able to speak to the teacher these days online, it is for a very short duration, and that does not really help. Now, just because I'm supporting a live teacher doesn't mean I'm not a proponent of online learning. I've learned a lot online. I have attended online lectures, and it is definitely beneficial. What I'm trying to say here is, when you have a lot of students and you don't get that personal touch, personal attention, then it becomes more difficult online. Less interaction amongst classmates, which in turn engenders social isolation, diffidence, and irritability. Engenders means causes, gives rise to, leads to. So this is a very good word that can be used across many IELTS essays, because you may always want to say this causes this, it leads to this, or it gives rise to this. Diffidence is having low confidence. As evidenced in the pandemic of 2020, myriads of children suffered from bouts of headache, eye strain, and fatigue due to exposure of UV rays radiated by the gadgets. Myriads means many, as evinced means as seen. Okay, so this is what we discussed, because of long or high amount of screen time, you get headache and fatigue. And finally, the conclusion. Like I said earlier, you're not going to say anything new over here. What you've tried to explain, you're just going to summarize the whole thing. To conclude, I iterate the fact that no matter how progressive and technically mirific we may have become, pedagogical techniques demonstrated by a live mentor can never be replaced. This noble profession is here to stay. Mirific means amazing, brilliant. Pedagogical is something to do with teaching, associated with teaching. Now go ahead and make a note of all these words. I assure you, if you even use the words that I am trying to explain in the essays, your essays will look much better than what it was before.